entrepreneurs of the world. Leading Entrepreneurs of the World features entrepreneurs, founders, and business leaders presenting on cutting-edge topics and the latest in industry developments. Our goal is to provide the global business and entrepreneurial communities with a window into the minds of those who are shaping the future of the world. Today, we're very pleased to welcome leading global entrepreneur, Eric Klein. Eric is the co-founder and COO of Cloudonix. In an era where customers demand a more personalized service that is faster, more accessible, and made available on multiple channels, a business needs to adapt faster. At Cloudonix, Eric and his team empower existing communication systems with new capabilities, bridging the gap between existing customer care systems and the era of digital transformation. Eric, it is great to have you here with us today to hear more about bridging the customer care gap. Thank you, and welcome to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. My name is Eric Klein. I am a father, husband, grandfather, serial entrepreneur, and I've spent many years dealing with call centers from the carrier and from the voice over IP side of things. This enables me to have an insight into how they are having problems with communicating between prospects and customers into the call center for sales or support activities. I've spent time dealing with VoIP fraud, have been advising startups, and I'm an advisor, I'm an author for technology and science fiction novels. So if you'd like to check with me on these topics, my contacts are at the end. Now, has this ever happened to you?
To speak with a representative, please say your entire account number now.
67MG298-14 H11170OR3SD-5 -C1AZ13-87KL641-9X25XA.
You said 67MGQ98-1.
I'm not going to make you listen to the whole thing again.
D13-87KPX2SXA. Is this correct?
Okay, this is the problem that we have with customer care today when you dial into a call center where you already are a customer. They want to know your account number, they make you type it in, and obviously this means you have to remember it. Give it to them, and then the first thing that happens when you get to the agent is this last panel. Hello, this is Representative Marty. May I have your account number again, please? And you have to start all the way from the beginning. Now, the problem with this
To speak with a rep
is the agent is going to ask you for the information and the account number every time. It's part of their fixed script. They're required to do it. But the real problem with this is they have your phone number. They know who you are. They should be able to identify you in some way. And what we have found is that there's a large percentage of customers or prospects who want to know, 85% of them in a survey, wanted the customer care agent or salesperson to have some clue as to who they are and why they're calling. And the problem with this kind of technology is we've been promising it for more than 20 years to make this possible. And the best that we've gotten, and I'll go into it in more detail, is identifying based on caller ID. And the problem is getting worse. Everybody is moving into the new concept of omni-channel. We want to talk to our prospects and our customers wherever they are, out on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, wherever they are. And every time we connect a new service in, it requires more time, more money to integrate it, and to figure out how to make it work. But the problem is these are all broken. So here on the left, I have an example of a call with a telephone provider in Israel where they're using WhatsApp for business. And the problem here is there is no call me button like there would be as if you were talking to a person. And when you have this kind of a break, you run into a problem because what we're finding out from our customers, 80% of these digital interactions, whether it is an AI chatbot, an online text bot, a chat via a different channel, Twitter, WhatsApp, whatever, Visa, American Express, various other companies are finding 80% of these have to go back into an actual voice phone call, which means you now have to take the phone number, give the number the person to call. They will call in on a regular number and have to start from scratch. All of the context, all of the reference, all of the details are lost. Okay. Now, this is very annoying to the customer. So if you're looking at this, you've got some ideas. As a customer, you've experienced this, and you know that it's very frustrating. So the question is, why are so few of the actual companies that we're calling not doing better? Why are they doing this the same way we did it in the 90s and the early 2000s? So today, you dial in, you give all of your information, you get to an IVR. Now, if they are doing it right, the IVR is connected to the CRM, which means that you typed in a number. Oh, I know who this number belongs to. The agent now has some idea of what your account is. But if you're a prospect, they have no information about you. You're a completely blank slate. Okay. Most companies are asking you for information as a delaying tactic. They want to slow down the calls getting to the agent because they have fewer agents available than they actually need. So if they're sitting there and playing hold music and your call is important to us, the real problem there is there aren't enough agents to take the number of calls that are expected or actually happening. So when you're calling, are you calling about an order? Please enter your call number. If you're calling for support, they start asking you all sorts of technical details. If it's connected to the CRM, the agent will get these details. Okay. Another problem that happens all too frequently is you talk to somebody, you press 1 for English if you're in the US or other things, and eventually you run to the point where you explain your whole problem. They go, oh, I'm sorry, you got to the wrong department. I can't help you with that. Let me transfer you. And they transfer you over to another person, and you have to start from scratch again. You've completely lost the intention, the context, the meaning of the whole call. And this is incredibly frustrating to customers. So once you've passed the call on to the agent, you should be able to pass on the context. It should be in the CRM. It should be some way that the agent isn't losing everything. Now, we need to do better. As I said, there have been surveys done. So 68% of people surveyed by Uniphone back in 2020 said they would stop using a company that didn't have a good customer experience. Okay, all of you have seen those lovely, would you take a survey on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10? How likely are you to recommend us? These net promoter scores are incredibly important. If a person is giving a 0 to 3 kind of answer, you've probably lost that customer. What's worse is that they may tell their friends how bad their experience was, at which point you've lost more than a customer, but potential future business. Okay, the ones between 3 and 7, they're kind of, well, maybe if I find something better or I find another option, I may leave you. Okay, these are the ones that are really scary because you have no idea what their next action is going to be. Your goal is to get somewhere between an 8 and a 10, where they're not only happy, but if you've gone all the way to a 10, they're going to tell their friends and social media contacts how great the experience was and send them to you. So the example that I like to give on this one is what we call the red rose experience. Okay, person in Florida starts to have a problem with having ants in their apartment. They go to the phone book or the internet, they choose the first exterminator. They call up, the exterminator comes, does their spraying, leaves a bill, walks out the door. Unfortunately, being Florida, a year later, you need to spray again. They don't remember the name of the company they used the first time, so they go and they look again, they find somebody, they call them up, they come out, they spray, and this time the exterminator leaves a thank you note with a rose on the counter next to the bill. What happens? This person is so happy with the personalized interaction and the extra little bit, that extra little red rose, which, let's be honest, costs you $1. That little red rose has now made the customer feel like they count, and they're not only going to put that person's phone number up for next year, They're going to tell all of their friends about how great this service was. They came in, they did the job, everything was perfect, and they even left me this. This is the kind of experience you want with your customers. This is what you want your prospects to hear about, because you don't want those all the way to the left. Those people on the left are the ones who are going to go, it's horrible, never use them. And there are an incredible number of Better Business reports or internet sites or Facebook groups of blacklisting or bad-mouthing sites. All of you, I'm sure, have heard of the various posts that are on Yelp or other services where, yeah, the service here was so horrible, never use them. You want to get that exact same person to go, they were absolutely awesome, best experience ever. I'm going to use them every time and recommend them to all of my family. So what can we do to do this better? Now, today, the technology exists to do this. We've been promised it for more than 20 years. And the best that they usually can get is a tie-in to an existing caller ID, where they'll recognize the number and be able to call up your record of knowing who you are as a customer. Okay, now that doesn't work if you're a prospect. Okay, the same survey found that if you connect with an agent after being on hold or whatever, and 25% of the respondents said that if they waited for more than 20 minutes with an agent, they would be likely to give a negative result, negative net promoter score. And this is a problem. Okay. Another thing that we found is on that same survey is if you are going to a website, filling in a form, and it takes them an hour to call you back, you are 20% less likely to buy from them. And it goes down for every hour, an additional 5%. So if you fill in a form and the company calls you back in the following day, you've either forgotten why you wanted to talk to them, bought it from one of their competitors, or they're catching you at a bad time. The idea of getting a customer or prospect to talk to an agent as quickly as possible when they are eager to buy is what makes that experience so good that they're going to tell people about it. Okay? So as I said, for more than a decade, almost 2 decades now, they've claimed that they can do this. The reason companies are not doing it right now is predominantly it's very complex to make it work. All of the interactions, all of the interconnections between the CRM, the systems, the advertising, all of this gets expensive and complicated. And as I said, with omnichannel, every channel you have to do it again. It's a brand new channel. It's a brand new set of interfaces, new connections, new training to your team. Then you need to find out, do you have the appropriate licenses with your existing systems? Okay, with Salesforce, you need to have one of the more expensive plans, not the basic plan, to be able to interconnect various APIs and various systems. With your CRM, that's obvious. With your phone system, you may have the same problem. Oh, you want to connect to an extra voice provider? You don't have that license, we're going to have to charge you extra. And a lot of companies don't bother with that. It's just too much of a hassle. Okay, now, as I said, current solutions are using caller ID, or if they're more sophisticated and they're internet oriented, they give you a different phone number for each interaction so they can try and bridge back the conversation on the internet or where you came from into the center. So at which point they know, oh, you're calling on that advertisement. At least now I have some idea of why you're calling. But this requires a lot of phone numbers. And this bank of phone numbers per month costs you for every phone number that you need in it. So if you want to have a large mail campaign or a sales campaign, you could need thousands of phone numbers at more than $1 each every month. So it becomes a real problem to get this whole thing going, and it's very expensive to plan for. And as I just explained, the callback feature, if people fill in a form and you call them back, you have to pay for the call, and you have the various likelihood that they're not going to take it because it isn't going to be there. And even when all of this is set up, it doesn't always work because you're connecting so many systems. When you lose the context, the customers get frustrated. Okay. Now, it should not surprise you that there is a better, faster, easier way to do this that's more cost effective. Okay. So as an example, we have been working with a couple of insurance companies to improve their experience of their customers using their mobile app after a car accident. So today, when they use the app, they hit the button, they get connected to an agent, through the regular dialer. And what happens is that you have to go through this, and then the agent gets all of the information, tells you where to take the car. They send out a appraiser who has to go out and take pictures, look at it, and then update it. This can take up to a week. Okay, so what they're looking to do and why they came to us is they want to share the photos, get the location information out of the app, reduce the time to get the appraisal, reduce their costs and service, and reduce fraud because they can get all the information up front. There's less chance of fraud where somebody is bringing it into the garage and the garage is going to make an appraisal of their own that's going to be incorrect. Okay, one of the other things that we found is frequently the people who are making the calls or using the service may not be covered under the policy. And I'll come back to that one in a second. That was one of our first use cases. So the example here is you go into the mobile app and say, oh, I've had an accident. Okay, the information from inside the phone has your policy number, has your GPS location sent to the agent. So they know, oh, I had an accident. This is the policy number associated with that accident and where they're physically located. Okay, so they can now start asking you specific questions, take pictures of the car, take pictures of the missing stop sign that you say is there, do all of the things that they need to get details. And instead of having you email it to them because you don't have them connected to the CRM, to the services, what they can then do is give you instructions. Okay, take a picture of the accident, at which point you take it in the app and it goes through the system up to one of the tools into the CRM, and the CRM then takes it to one of these tools that can do AI-based damage assessment. And there are 5 or 6 companies that do this. Trackable was one of the first ones that we were working around. There are a number of them. They look at the picture and they go, aha, this car can't be driven. This is the level of damage. This is what it's going to cost to take. These are the parts to replace, because they already know from the policy what model car is it, where the damage is, and they can look at the picture and make the assessment. What this translates to is a more rapid response, a more reasonable time to get the appraisal done, which means that you have a better customer experience and better customer service. Now, one of the examples that we had originally, our first customer to use this kind of service was actually using it as an add-on service to enable customers who bought their cell phones through a carrier to get tech support as part of their insurance policy. So as part of the policy, you would get the ability to contact them and say, okay, I'm having a problem with my iPhone X. Can you help me do it? And the problem is they were finding that there were a number of fraudulent calls coming in on this. People would call up using this policy number and say, I've got a problem, and there was no way to verify. So if dad had a policy from work for an iPhone X and the rest of the family also had iPhone X's, the rest of the family would be calling up against dad's work policy. By using this kind of information, they were able to take from inside the phone the identification number, the location, other details to make sure and verify, oh, this phone is on this policy, I'm allowed to do it. Oh, this phone isn't on that policy. Would you like to add it? Would you like to upgrade? And they were able to upsell 25 to 50% of the time. Now, how did we make this kind of thing work, especially with the concept of omni-channel? It's coming back to that same telephone example. Okay, we take the service and we enable you to put in a link that translates to a website that makes a web call. That call is then tied to the original phone number or phone conversation or whatever else that you had, whichever channel it came in from. So they can say, oh, this is the conversation I had in WhatsApp or the conversation I had in Twitter. Okay, now that information is tied to a phone call, the agent now knows who's calling, why they're calling, and what's going on. Okay. On the other side, you can take the same thing. And the example that we like to use is, okay, you're interested in getting a flu shot and you're standing in the middle of Times Square in Manhattan. So you scan the code on the bus stop. They know from the QR code where the bus stop is located. And they go, ah, you scanned for because you'd like to have a flu shot. You're at Broadway and 8th Avenue. Okay, you're in Times Square. You're at Broadway and 42nd. The closest Duane Reade is at 42nd and 8th Avenue. one block away, and they've got an available slot for you in 15 minutes. Would you like me to schedule it for you? And they can do that long before you tell them who you are or why you're calling. The context of what QR code you scanned, what email link you clicked, what website link you clicked, tells them what you were calling about, what you chose to talk about, and gets them some starting point to know who you are and why you're there. You don't have to start with it, because let's be honest, every time you call into a system, you get what's sort of like the Spanish Inquisition for 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Who are you? Why are you calling? What would you like me to do about it? And they have to go through this whole script to make it work. And once they've gone through the script, you then find out, oh, right person, wrong person. And if they transfer you again, you have to go through the same script with the right department. So the idea here is enable that information, that context, that meaning to be in there from the beginning. Let the agent know who's calling and why. Makes for a better experience, and the customer will be much happier with what's going on. Okay. I'm actually going to finish this a little bit earlier. If you have questions or would like to contact me, here's my information, our website. Happy to chat with anybody about this or general questions about customer care. I will be doing other discussions as part of the Leading Entrepreneur program on what is known as design thinking. How do you identify who is your customer? Why are you contacting them? What messaging do you need to give them? Thank you for your time.